Wow. Well, hello there, people that and hello again. I'm TheMBmulti, and welcome to part 1 of my Doki Doki Lost Ascension Let's Play series. So, I was a bit flabbergasted by that intro, because that was part of the original Doki Doki trailer, I believe, where they introduced all the characters. So I didn't expect that to be part of the intro of this mod, but okay. So yeah, Lost Ascension. A bit of a... what would you call this? Controversial pick, I guess? I don't know. Because I've heard... I've downloaded all of these mods, like, way back when. Like, I've got an entire list of mods that I'm going through right now. You know, Blue Skies and Longer Roads and all the others. I downloaded all of them beforehand. Well, most of them. There are a couple new ones here and there, but I don't even know which ones they are. So, you know, I downloaded them because I thought they were interesting, or because I liked something that I saw about it, or whatever. And so that's also probably the reason why I downloaded Lost Ascension at some point. However, when you look at the like the Doki Doki mods subreddit, like tons and tons and tons and tons of people named this as their least favorite mod ever. So I don't exactly know why. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, I downloaded it apparently because I thought it was interesting, because otherwise I wouldn't have downloaded it. Yet loads of people dislike this game, this mod, I mean, for whatever reason. I don't know why. I guess we'll find out, and maybe I will agree with them or not, or maybe not. Because also a bunch of people also said, like, hey, like they really hated Fallen Angel. Like, some people said they loved it, and then others said they absolutely hated it. And I understood why people hated it, but I love that mod. Like, I love that mod still. Despite the ending, I still like the mod very much. It was written very well, and MONIKA being evil, I think, is not a big deal. I think she can take it, although I do, like I mentioned in the actual Fallen Angel video, I feel like MONIKA's character could have been written a bit better, that she had a bit more motive for being evil other than just because. Because being evil just because is a pretty bad motivation. And it would have been pretty easy to get a proper motivation for MONIKA there, but I don't really find MONIKA being evil an issue whatsoever. I actually liked Natsuki the most in that mod, apart from Yuri and Sayori. But yeah, that was my, that was my favorite rendition of Natsuki in that mod. Which is amazing, because Natsuki is by far my least favorite character in Doki Doki. I've mentioned this a few times before, but my like tier list, as in my favorite characters, is at the very, very top. It is Yuri, then one pixel below Yuri is Sayori, then there's a little gap to MONIKA, and then there is a humongous chasm all the way down to the depths of the earth, and all somewhere down there is Natsuki. See, I really don't like her character at all. And everybody, oh, she's best girl, oh, she's cute. Like, I don't know why they think that. I don't think that. Also, I just noticed, shouldn't those white ribbons be in front of her arms? I always thought that they were in front. Oh well, whatever. Yeah, the menu is different. Now the menu is not on the left, but it's in the middle. That's crazy. It's kind of like MONIKA's altered sprite in Blue Skies. I really had to, like... It took me a few episodes to get used to that, because MONIKA wasn't supposed to be angled. It's like, kind of like this. Like, the menu's supposed to be on the left. Like, Anyway, so yeah, Lost Ascension. Absolutely no idea what this mod is about. Zero. But the other, like, with Fallen Angel, I just knew I got it's a Yuri mod, and with Longer Roads, I just knew that there were 10 endings. But for this, I have absolutely no idea. Nothing. So let's see why people hate it so much, I guess. Alright, hi MONIKA. Admittedly, it isn't my best choice for a title, but it's something that works out for everybody in the end. Considering the surroundings, I guess you could say this was my story, or rather everyone's story. After all, I don't think any of us really understand exactly what happened after we finally got out of that place. What I do understand though is that what happened before then was truly appalling. The darkness, its encumbering feeling. Even now, months later, it still haunts me. I always feel like at some point something might go completely wrong and I'll be back in that emptiness again. Surrounded by the voices constantly reminding me that nothing even felt real until after I had finally broken through to the others. I can't forget what I have done to them, nor can they, but I guess in a way it's alright. I always assumed Sayori would hold a grudge, but she seemed happier now. She much prefers having the truth handed to her, which honestly surprises me. She never seemed like the type to handle anything well, but instead she took it like a champ. I really should stop underestimating her. I still do from time to time, but she always manages to be a better president than I ever could be. He tells me that she couldn't make it by herself, but I really feel like she could. That's like what was that? It's a violin version of Dreams of Love and Literature, or Sayonara. That's the same melody. But this piano. But what that was that a violin? Is that a violin? Oh, I should have played a song on the smallest violin ever. But I really feel like she could. I know she could. However, I know full well that they need me as much as I need them. Without them, I wouldn't be club president of anything. Or anyone. And that sounds more terrifying to me than any amount of time spent in the void. But still, I do hope they find my words comforting as I write them out in this quiet darkness. That, and I hope this doesn't cause them any more distress. I really do see them all as special and unique, and I honestly don't know what I would do without them. I love my club. I love my friends. I love them. I love them all. Whoa. Where do I begin with this train wreck of thoughts? Maybe I should start from the absolute beginning. Yes, that's it. The void. I guess that's what I'd call it. This was the place I was essentially born in, or better said, created in. I simply remember waking up one day in this empty, silent world with nothing around me. But me, myself and I. I was terrified and I still had my memories of growing up. Although I guess they weren't really my memories. But they all felt so real. It's something that I still cherish, even if I know it's all a lie. After all, I eventually felt this tight, blood-curdling grip tighten around my wrist. It almost felt like it was going to crush me, until what seemed like a little piece of me suddenly broke off. Of course, searching over my body, I found nothing gone. I just felt strangely empty for some reason in that area. Then it started, the voices, words, songs, music. It just hit me suddenly, almost like that piece of me had come back, but it had brought something completely mesmerizing. Remember when you first heard that dumb song playing through the air? The one that plays when Sayori initially appears? That's not a dumb song. Ohio Sayori is a great soundtrack. Gosh, I can't even remember the name of it. I just said it. It's Ohio Sayori. It was a really basic tune though. No, it wasn't. I guess it was trying to imply that Sayori was just your dumb average childhood friend. Funny, really. Covering up her depression with that music. I just remember laughing for the first time I truly experienced it firsthand. Which takes me back to after that first piece had left. And that squeezing sensation would come back almost on a routine. It was really the one interesting thing that would occur while I was alone in that void. Even if it was painful, it was the only real interaction I ever had. But with it came the music, the voices. They would always start every time a piece of me had returned. That little piece would bombard me with the noise. It never stopped. Sometimes when I'm sleeping I still hear the garbled mess. Just static. Then after a few days, or what I assumed to be days, something changed. That first piece of me that left, I could hear it screaming in agony. Almost like it had experienced something traumatic, because it shifted from that cheery attitude to something dreadful and anxiety-inducing. A raw wave of pure hatred and jealousy. The voices, they also went from friendly to hateful. I felt them slowly shift inside of me, and there was nothing I could do to stop them. The rest of me slowly started to change too. I soon realized the majority of my own blood felt scattered, broken down into small pieces of flesh and bone. It felt like what was once my body was no longer even mine. Except my eyes. For some reason my eyes never felt like they were taken from me, or broken apart. I always assumed it was some sick and twisted torture method, designed specifically so I was forced to see everything done to me. Truly a torture method only the most mentally broken would devise. I still believe that this is the worst pain I've ever had to experience. The endless squeezing and tearing, which had once brought me some kind of comfort, only began to bring me pain and misery. Why? Okay. Every time I would retch out another piece, it would retch out another piece of me. I knew that the joy it brought me was only temporary. That continued pain slowly broke my mind until I finally realized that the voices I had been hearing also contained my own. I couldn't be sure as I listened, but something in my gut told me it was true. My body felt entrapped by this screaming, agonizing jealousy. The worst part was that it was all over someone I didn't even know. Over people I had never even met before. Something that I hadn't even experienced, yet all I could feel was hate. It continued up until the last drops of happiness were finally drained out of the shell of my soul. I felt like I was I felt I was thrown out. Wow. Like I was squeezed orange, thrown into the trash to rot in the dump. It was so abrupt, I wasn't prepared for it, like the user had its fun with me and disposed of me. I laid there alone for what felt like an eternity before something picked me up and set me back up on my feet. I honestly wasn't sure what was happening until a bright light flashed across my vision. For the first time I felt like I was whole again. No more separation or feeling of rage. It was just me. Just MONIKA. Did I just say that? I'm sorry, it's a running joke at this point. But the thing is, that was the feeling I had at that moment. It really was just me. No division, no anything. Just me and only me. However, it was short-lived because soon after the bright light dimmed out of sight. I finally got to see the world around me. There was nothing special to it when I first looked around. For a moment I honestly wasn't sure what was even going on or why I had even been brought here. The moment was interrupted by a few bright flashes sweeping across the entire area. Luckily I had closed my eyes just in time to not be blinded, and when I opened them I saw the three girls standing near me. One was a tall purple-haired girl who looked a bit nervous and shy. Her stance and eyes exhibited a sense of nervousness or fear. My eyes wandered down a little, and to my surprise I saw an incredibly large uniform. In an attempt to ignore the size of her uniform, it looked away from her towards the next girl. Or I looked away? Yeah. Why the hell was that the first thing you noticed? Well, apart from her purple hair. Across from her was an incredibly short, sternly stood pink-haired girl. She looked younger than the others, and her cheeks and lips were tightly packed together. She almost looked like she was parting about something. She seemed vaguely angry, and I figured it was because she had just come out of the same place that I had just been in. But then my eyes settled on the last girl. For some reason I felt an overwhelming surge of rage flow through me when I laid my eyes on her. She was about my height. Her hair was coral pink and her eyes were shining a brilliant blue. They were almost mesmerizing to me. Had it not been for the overwhelming hatred coming over me, I might have realized exactly what was going on right then and there. I didn't really know why I hated her so much, or why I felt the need to take the measures I did. But I realized now it wasn't worth it. That moment, however, was short-lived, as that familiar grip started to coil its way up around my legs. Once again squeezing its irreversible pain around me as it began to take control. That feeling of being moved again, my body flawlessly going into that god-awful pose as if I was meant to be there for eternity. All the while, one of those familiar music tracks began to play over the world I was in. I couldn't hear anything. Couldn't even think. The music was just overpowering my senses. Finally, I saw something different. Something that caused my entire being to flutter. A boy. His hair was short and messy, and his outfit was different from mine. I guessed it was to signify his gender. He had a dumbfounded look on him, one that was quickly replaced by a sly smile. He practically flew at us before pressing on each of our noses. I didn't know why he did that, but it was quickly answered as the boy spoke abruptly. This is just another dating sim. Why is everybody saying it's horror? A what? A dating sim? I couldn't comprehend what he had just said. Before the boy flew off, looking over a large list looking thing. He gently hit one of the buttons on said list, and suddenly the world went dark again. The voices returned to me, but instead of being jumbled and mixed, they were instead clear cut. The voice of a boy sounding like a brick in the wall with how dumb he was, and the other being one of the girls. For a moment, that's all I got, until eventually a window of sorts appeared in front of me. It allowed me to see what was happening. I don't know why it appeared the first time, but I can guess now that it was intended to drive me mad watching him choose the others. Not that it really worked after the first playthrough. Once again I saw the coral-haired girl. Her blazer was unbuttoned, which only complemented the music playing over the whole scene. Honestly, when I saw her for the first time, I couldn't comprehend it. Perhaps it was the anger, or whatever it was supposed to be. The boy though, he was unlike the others. He never really seemed to belong. What made it even worse, I could hear everything he said and did. Eventually though, I was thrown into the game. Although I attempted with every muscle in my body, I couldn't move on my own. I was practically forced to move against my will. And my face felt locked into different expressions. At one point the boy stopped talking or moving altogether. I couldn't move at all, for what felt like an eternity. It was as if he had left the world and now I couldn't function. Everything just froze in place until he came back. The first playthrough that's actually pretty interesting how it's described, like I turned the game off and then everything is frozen or whatever. The first playthrough was indeed the worst by memory. When the game was put away, I would go back into that void. My only company were the voices and the cheerful music of the cruel reality I was in. I would always think mainly about the boy though. He used to make me so happy, so alive. But my thoughts would occasionally travel back to the other girls. I hoped I could talk to them. But the rule never let me speak outside of specific times. I never got to go home and see my family, if I even had one to begin with. I would only go back to that dark place I was so accustomed to. The only bliss back then was him, just us. We were alive, not them. So when I found the file editing software hidden away on the cracked code in the darkened void, had an idea come across my mind. I found the files, I found the characters, I found the stats, I found Sayori's stats, and I killed her. In cold, heartbroken blood. I ended her life like it was the only thing I was meant to do. I don't know why, it was almost invigorating. Even now. I don't know why she's forgiven me for that, but she wasn't the only one I hurt at the time. I started to manipulate all of them, trying to turn them into shells of the people they used to be, just so I could get to him, just so I could reach him, just so he would love me. But he didn't do anything like that. After everything I had done for him, he decided to throw me away, just like the pain. Back then it destroyed me, both literally and figuratively, to have been gotten rid of. Yet even when he did that, I didn't die. I couldn't die. I wanted to. I wanted to be gone just like the rest, but I just couldn't die. And some say letting go is always the hardest part. Sayori took over, and for the first time I began to understand that whatever had made me go mad had done the same to Sayori. Club president, whatever it was supposed to be, was infected with something underneath all of those fancy powers. It made us go mad, and I didn't know what to do. The game was soon over, and in a last-ditch effort I told him to leave, just go away. Yet he never did. He persisted. He came back time and time again. He was after something. A good ending. Something to make him happy. He didn't care what happened to us in the process. He just wanted his happy ending. He tried everything and anything. Editing files, deleting us early, even modifications. But none of it worked. He never did get his happy ending. Eventually, with so many resets and do-overs, I would realize who I was faster and faster. The resets no longer affected my memory. I could remember the whole playthroughs and mods. Time itself was becoming a concept to me. I could track time based on when he would show up, since he had been late for... Time itself was becoming a concept to me. I could track time based on when he would show up, since he had been late for bed so many times. Soon my life was much more stable, even if it truly wasn't. I could move freely in the world, thanks to a little file editing. I could go from place to place without the game breaking its own code and barriers. I soon found that the world itself was barely coded, yet there was plenty to be coded within it. Rooms, hallways, houses, even people. I slowly started to code it all myself, bringing these places into reality and trying to make something out of what seemed to be nothing. But I realized after some time that I still had more worries, the other girls especially, and my own rage building up. The things that would interrupt my thoughts whenever the end of the first act would come around to haunt me. I would always kill Sayori at that point. One thing I couldn't edit was my own file. It was protected by something, but after a few playthroughs I finally managed to crack through the firewall. I saw my own file, my own being. I searched frantically through it, searching for what made me this way. I finally found it. It was resting quietly inside of my core files. My mind ran with so much worry and doubt that I was practically shaking when I deleted it. Almost immediately something felt different. After I had done that, when the time came for my usual manipulation, I felt no need to do it. I didn't want to make Sayori feel sad or depressed. I simply watched her. But he wasn't very happy about that apparently, as watching only resulted in a quick reset. I had to listen to what the game wanted, no matter what. That was when it struck me. It was only after his happy ending, not ours. He just wanted the pleasure of watching us suffer and die over and over. Oh. He played through everything to torture us so many times. That was why he was so disappointed about the introduction the first time around. He wanted to have a fun time watching us all fall apart internally. For the first time I felt rage towards someone who wasn't Sayori, and it felt like it was a true and honest anger. I realized that at this point, as well as that the game didn't control me anymore, like it used to. I could move freely without anyone telling me what to do. And if the game couldn't control me, neither could he. Oh, okay. Okay. I guess that's part of the game? I didn't save anything. Oh, okay, I can continue, okay. That was supposed to go like that. My rage, my hate, my anger, my displeasure, my everything. It revolved around him, nobody else, not even the girls, only him. I could tell he was angry. He was so bent on destroying what I was becoming that he reset the game many times in an attempt to put an end to my takeover, only for his efforts to help move it along. Normally the other girls and I would be sleeping in or in a sort of stasis when he would turn off his computer. But during the most recent playthrough, I had managed to get an opportunity with my newest attempt at breaking the code that I hadn't had before. I was able to fight back the unnatural level of exhaustion that was normally present within this new development. With that, I was finally able to take a step forward in the direction I had begun planning for so long. Bringing the others up to a level of sentience comparable to mine was something that required a lot of time to achieve. I honestly wasn't sure how long I worked, but having to take frequent breaks during the efforts was something I got used to early on. As I finally finished up the project, my mind and body finally gave into the intoxicating slumber that had been looming over me for so long. My last thought was one that I still smile at, thinking about having finally made a system to get everyone free. I wasn't entirely sure how long I was asleep, but when I woke up the next time, I found myself in a place I had never seen before. It wasn't my game or my home, it was something. Ugh. I assume it was because I had managed to find a way to avoid the normal shutdown process, but I had seemingly woken up somewhere on his desktop. It wasn't too bad until I noticed the desktop background he had. It was a rather revealing image of her in a bikini. What? I still want to puke thinking about the king of creeps who put that on his computer. Because at this point, with everything I knew he had done, this was just adding to my pile of distaste of him. Of course, at this point I didn't really know what he looked like or what he did. I only recognized him as a mouse icon. But that's just a random thought. I have no idea if I would even want to know what he looks like at this point. I still have to ask why he had that image anyways. Besides that, it just added to my excitement towards finally getting the upper hand over him. All he needed to do was just hit start on the game one more time. And it led me into one of the longest waiting games I never wanted to experience. He never once opened the game while he was there. And it was that way for some time. Finally I decided to poke my head out to see what he was up to. I found out that he had been creating something. I didn't really understand any of it then, but now the word firewall contains a far different meaning to me. He seemed to be hard at work and eventually he stopped what he was doing. His mouse icon made its way over towards the game folder and I prepared myself. He paused right before clicking it. The mouse icon stopped over the executable. After a terribly long time he finally opened it up. My time to finally strike and in the place he designed. How could this be any more poetic for us? I'm coming to finish the job for everyone.